And now back to BobbyLikis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
I can't believe this. I'll take a call from Victor in Washington. Victor, welcome to BobbyLikis Car Clinic.
Help somebody out and jump lead their battery now with these new cars and the computer and all their little light
right.
voltage. Can you hurt something, or how do you do that and do it right?
Yes, you can. And here's the bottom line. But there's a safe way that you jump a car off. And so what I would like for you and for all of our listeners the one word to lose is jump. Do not think of jumping. We're going to call the dead car the bad car, and the good car with the battery, the one that's being used to. I started to say jump start. That's what you do, right?
Right.
But to restore, to charge the dead car's battery. You see, if we had a charger, then we would not need to jump start the vehicle. We would hook up a charger to it and let it charge for, what would you say? I'm going to say not a commercial charger, but a decent charger, maybe 15 amp charger. Victor, I would imagine, and depends on how dead the battery is, but let's just say that the car goes, we've all heard that dreaded noise. And so the battery doesn't have enough oomph to start the car, but the horn will blow and the lights are dim, but they'll work. So how long would it take? Probably about 15 minutes to charge that battery. It will take at least 5 minutes to charge the dead battery. So what is the problem with jump starting is that you hook your cables from the good car to the bad car, and you RPM the good car, and you have to turn all the accessories off because you want all of the alternator current that's coming out of that good car to go through the cables into the bad car's battery. Here's the challenge. The battery is like a sponge. It's dead. So everything that goes into, almost all of the current that goes into that dead battery is being absorbed by that battery because it's what needs to be recharged. Here's the challenge. You hook it up. Okay, try it now. You immediately try it now, and what happens is now all of the voltage, the current surge that goes from the good car to the bad car not only goes into that battery, which is demanding, the starter is even more demanding because it's 300 amps. It takes 300 amps to turn that engine over. So now you've got this double whammy. It's bad enough that you had a little firecracker, but now you've got a cherry bomb. So here's the way you do it, and I've done this. I've done this many times. I've been in a situation where I didn't have jumper cables and had to charge a dead car. So what can you do? Now, would you think that you could take a household, one of those typical, not the commercial extension cord, but just a little brown 2-wire 110 volt extension cord or the end of a lamp, a wire, and cut a portion off and make a jumper cable out of it?
Oh yeah.
Well, you can. But
any copper line will carry the juice from one to the other.
That's right.
Only if it's a little line, it won't carry as much.
Yeah, that's right. But you can't use it to jumpstart. You can use it to charge. So I would say to anyone out there, there's one word. It's called patience. So what you do is you open the hood of the bad car. You hook the battery cable, the positive, from the positive of the good car to the bad car. You go back to the good car and you hook the negative to the negative of the good car, and then you go to the bad car and you find an engine ground or some body ground, not the battery post. You really should go to an engine ground, and you hook that cable up, and then comes patience. And Victor, you simply run the good car a minimum of 3 minutes, but a optimum of 5 minutes. And what you're doing is you're restoring the state of charge in the dead battery so that when the starter demands its fair share, not only do you have the cables that are supplying it, but the battery that was dead has now been refreshed and has some current to spare, so you're not double dipping those cables. That's the way you jump start or restart a car that's got a dead battery. You got it? Any questions?
Yeah, if the old ammeter, you could watch your ammeter in the charging rig, and when it came back down to neutral, you had both of them up.
Exactly.
But now these new cars don't have an ammeter, do they?
No, sir.
So they ought to put one in just for that. Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Okay, now on that EcoBoost, you were saying there's 2,000 pounds pressure up to the injector on the fuel.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how does now 2,000 pounds up to the injector, and the injector was a solenoid piston.
Mm-hmm.
That 2,000 pounds, how does it enter the cylinder in the injector? And then you have to meter a different amount of fuel for if you want a lot of power, just idling and so forth. How does that take place?
Fuel pressure regulator, a small camshaft-driven, powerful fuel pump is mounted on the cam cover. That cam cover, there are 4 cams on the on a V6 EcoBoost. Those 4 cams, 3 of which are cast. The other one is steel. And it's steel because it has the lobe that drives the high-performance, high-pressure fuel pump. The pump, which has a pressure regulator, maintains whatever pressure is needed depending on the load of the engine and the turbo boost, because as you know, when you pressurize the cylinder and you're going to put direct injection, you have to have a more pressure because there's cylinder pressure, compression there, versus the intake manifold. So that fluid goes through a fuel rail from the fuel supply to the pump. From the pump, it is increased in pressure to 2,000 psi, and then from there to the fuel rail, and then the fuel rail has 4 little squirt guns. They're electric squirt guns, and the computer opens the solenoid and sprays the precise amount of gasoline at the precise time, and that's where the DI is. So that's why it's 15% increase in MPG immediately, and cleaner burning, because it sprays that fuel into a cup-shaped piston. And the piston has a little chamber, and it sprays that fuel into the cup-shaped piston, and that fuel is atomized. And there's something else too, Victor, that's really interesting about the ethanol. Because ethanol is alcohol, and because it has a cooling agent, the ethanol actually reduces the temperature of the incoming charge, because it immediately starts to evaporate when it's sprayed into the chamber, that hot chamber. And so you can use a hotter chamber, you can use more pressure, which means more power, and you can optimize that engine for using up to 85% ethanol. So it's not about the ethanol, but I wanted to share that because that's the new wave. That's what GM and Ford and Chrysler and all of the manufacturers are doing. And to that end, if you're a regular listener, you know, recently we had a gentleman on from GM for the new Volt, the next gen Volt. It has 12.5 to 1 compression ratio, a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine that charges that's a generator engine. 12.5 to 1 compression ratio. Anyway, what's your next question?
Well, you said there was a pressure regulator there at the pump. So basically, that drops from 2,000 in the main rail up to the injector, and that's how you get a less. You said you had to meter a certain amount in, different amounts according to the power you needed.
Well.
And is that done by changing the pressure in the line, or is that done at some other place right up next to the injector?
No, it's done. You open an injector. You keep the pressure. You maintain the pressure at the fuel pump you maintain the pressure from the fuel pump to the injector, and you open the injector that has a precise orifice for 3 milliseconds, you'll get X amount of fuel. If you open it for 3.1 milliseconds, in a blink of an eye is 200 milliseconds. So you're talking about really fast operation here. So if you want more fuel out of the same injector, you open an injector 5 milliseconds or 8 milliseconds. Now, that's a long time. And that's how you meter the fuel, and you must have the maintained pressure. And that pressure depends on the turbo and when that boost comes in. And a lot of times that turbo, of course, is not full boost all the time, because when you first fire the engine has to spool the turbos up. So there's a lot of adjustment going on. Therein lies how the 100 plus patents that Ford got, because they did not invent any of this. They didn't invent direct injection or turbochargers, or they just created the brand EcoBoost, and then they put together a proprietary use of all the above, and it works.
Is that a slide valve that opens and shuts that little hole a little bit, lets more fuel in and out of the plunger?
That's right. There you go.
That must be an awful quick electrical type valve.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is quick. Hey, thanks for your call. Always great to hear from you from Washington.